Brothers and sisters in Christ, this is Bishop Ray Tiemann, and I thank you for taking the opportunity to view this orientation webinar for the 2014 Southwestern Texas Synod Assembly, to be held Saturday and Sunday, May 3 and 4, at the DoubleTree Hotel in Austin. Through this webinar, I hope you'll learn how to best prepare as a voting member for the Assembly, what items to bring with you, and generally become more comfortable with your responsibilities while there. The page you are currently viewing is the front page of the Synod website. You'll notice that the internet address is here, www.swtsynod.org. And when you arrive at the website, you can go down to the Synod Assembly right here and to the Click for Information button, which is where we're going to go next. Please notice, though, that the theme for the Assembly is God's Missional River, Jump In. It's going to be an opportunity for us at the Synod Assembly to participate in the missional vision of the Synod, to learn what it means to be a missional church, and to conduct the annual business of our Synod. But if you go to the Click for Information button, then it will take you to our next page, and this is where I want to walk you through the various things for the Assembly, and we're going to start with the FAQs, the Frequently Asked Questions. These are the ones that we've heard so far, but as you notice, you can ask a question that may make this list also to help other voting members who will also be attending the Assembly. So I want to just walk you quickly through the various questions that are here. What do I need to print for the Assembly? Well, there are several answers to that, I guess. The Bulletin of Reports contains all the action items and the information items for the Assembly, but it's over 100 pages long. I'll show you where that will be located here on the website later. But if you have an electronic device, during that week, right before the Assembly, maybe on Wednesday or Thursday, you can go to download the latest edition of the Bulletin of Reports to whatever electronic device you have, and that way you'll have all of the reports. But you can also print just the items that you will need, and I will also show you where that is in the on the web page as we get further along. But it's an opportunity then for you to print just specific items rather than printing the 100+ pages that are part of the Bulletin of Reports. Will we use electronic devices again for the Assembly? Yes, we will. At registration, you'll receive a voting device about the size of a credit card, and during our first business session, you'll be taught how to use it. Just remember, you need to return that device, or you'll need to provide a $50 replacement fee. How do I need to prepare for elections at the Assembly? One of the items that you will either have electronically or that you'll print is the biographical information on each of the persons to be elected for the various positions. You're going to be told at the Assembly about reading through all that information, marking your selections, and that at a specific time during the Assembly, we will use the electronic voting devices to vote on each of those members. So you'll be given some opportunity to prepare for that, but you can get ready by reading that VITA information and making decisions about who you will vote for. How's the theme and offering chosen for an Assembly? And how is the location chosen? Well, the Synod Council approves the theme and the offering, but suggestions for that comes from the Planning Committee of the Conference. They are the ones who also choose the location of the Assembly, and we like to try and move the Assembly around the Synod to the various conference locations. How many lay, male, and female voting members can my congregation send? Well, you see here a listing of those who can attend as lay voting members. Some congregations, if they're smaller, can send one voting member, and then it tells you here whether they should be male or female. 2 voting members per congregation is generally the standard across the Synod, 1 male and 1 female. Some congregations, if they're larger, can send 3 voting members if they're over 400 baptized. And in addition, you can send a youth or a young adult as a voting member. So if that's something you'd like to do, we'd really encourage younger voices at our Assembly. Remember that along with these lay voting members, those rostered leaders are always a part of the voting members that come to Assembly. What's the difference between the registration options? Well, we'll look at the registration page later, but you can see that there are voting members, there are non-voting members, visitors, displayers, observers, or if we have guests, you can even purchase meal tickets. But I'll show you that later as we look at the registration page itself. No complimentary Wi-Fi? Well, the DoubleTree doesn't have complimentary Wi-Fi in our convention area. You can purchase it, but it's a little bit pricey. That's why we suggest that you download all the items you need so that they're on your computer or other electronic device. There is complimentary Wi-Fi in the lobby and in the guest rooms, just not in the convention center itself. And often a question, what should I wear? Well, you know, this is going to be the first weekend in May. Wear comfortable clothes, whatever that is for you. But we always suggest that you bring a light jacket because depending on where you sit in the room, then it may be cooler than in other parts. After you look at a page like this on the assembly, you can go to this, go back to the assembly main page and click on that, and that takes you back. And I'm going to walk us next through the planning team and volunteers. Here is just a listing of all of the persons who are a part of the planning team in the Capital North Conference. We thank them for all their hard work so far for us. And you may want to volunteer. Here is where you can find ways to help, and here you can actually volunteer for those. So if you're interested in that, please do so. Let's go back to the main page. We have displayers and sponsors that come to the assembly. If there are those who are watching this webinar and would like to be a displayer or a sponsor, they can click right here. Here are the displayers, and they can register there. You see the cost for having a table for a display. You can also purchase meal tickets here. And these are sponsors. We try to keep the cost of the assembly down, and so we have various groups that provide grants to the Synod to provide for different things for the assembly. And if you'd like to have an opportunity to be a sponsor, you can certainly do so. Contact Deanna Zittelman. The email address is there below. Let's go back to the main page. The assembly offering. This year, the assembly offering is for Water for Africa. Gifts for the assembly offering will be used to purchase what are called life straws. They are personal filtration systems that filter out over 99% of impurities. They cost less than $10 each, and they last up to a year, filtering 750 liters of water. You can see that every conference has a goal in mind as to what they can achieve at $10 per life straw. And if you want some way to find an opportunity to show how these work, there's even a PowerPoint presentation right here and a brochure that's available that you can access so that you can share this with your congregation and help to raise the funds that are going to be part of the assembly offering. Let's go now to nominations. Nominations are being accepted now up to April 15 for these various positions in the Synod. We also will accept nominations from the floor, but we like to get nominations in for positions to give every voting member an opportunity to read through their biographical information. You can see we're going to be electing a secretary of the Synod, a couple of ministry team chairs, members of the Consultation and Discipline Committee, and also Synod Council members. Let me just show you what one of those nomination forms looks like. Let's do the Hill Country Lay Female position. On each one of those, if you would click it, you would be shown the responsibilities of this office as it comes out of the Constitution, and then a listing of the skills and abilities and gifts that are needed, including the kind of time commitment that is necessary for this particular position. That person can then fill out all the pertinent information, name, address, phone numbers, all those different things, what conference they're from, ways in which they've been involved in the life of the church, their ethnicity and primary language, and then this box, what are the gifts, skills, experiences, and areas of expertise that you'd bring to this work. After they fill all of that out, just hit the submit button. It gets sent to the Synod, and then we put together a one-page vita describing this person for the office. So there you have all of those pieces related to the nominees for Synod Assembly. And remember, Try to turn those in by April 15, but we also accept nominations from the floor. We go back to the Assembly main page and look at resolutions. The resolutions can be presented by voting members to the Assembly. They must be signed actually by 2 voting members as a way to bring the motion and have a second. And resolutions help the Assembly address different items in the Synod or even church-wide. If you'd like to submit a resolution, you can submit it now by just going to that, fill in all the various boxes as well as the reason for this particular resolution, and once you're done, then you hit the submit button and it comes directly to us. There are several levels of submission of resolutions to the Assembly. The first ones were due by March the 1st, which means that those resolutions would automatically come to the Assembly floor. From that time up to the Assembly, there are various ways for resolutions to come to the floor. Some require the action of the Synod Council, and others the action of the Assembly itself for a resolution to be considered. But if you have something you'd want to submit, please take opportunity to do so. This is the place. Back to the Assembly main page. Let's look at schedule and information that's there. This is a very brief and tentative schedule for the Assembly. I want you to note a couple of things. First of all, you have an opportunity to arrive on Friday and be a part of a couple of breakout sessions for education. When we have descriptions of those, they'll be listed right here. You don't have to register. You can just come and attend. You can check in that evening as a voting member or as a visitor, and then there's a reception at 8 o'clock on Friday night. We would encourage those that have a long way to travel to make that trip on Friday, because we start at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning with worship, have a business session in the morning, then lunch, a couple of business sessions in the afternoon, and conclude the day with the Cross Trails Corporation meeting. This year, the Assembly planning team decided they wanted to give you an opportunity for a night in Austin to enjoy all the various activities that you can in the Austin area. So you'll have an opportunity to go out to eat somewhere and to make a visit for wherever you would like to go. We begin then on Sunday at 9 a.m. Again, have business sessions before lunch and business sessions after lunch, and we will finish by 5 p.m. on Sunday. We always look for an opportunity to finish earlier than that, and depending on the amount of business and such we have been able to achieve that very easily usually. Back to the main page. Here's the DoubleTree Hotel. That's the host hotel for the Assembly. We really encourage you to stay there so you don't have to travel in sometimes very busy Austin traffic. If you click onto this, it'll take you directly to their site, and here's how you can book a room. You can simply put that down there. That gets you in at the Assembly rate, and please note that you are to book this by April the 11th. Otherwise, we run into some difficulty with the room costs and all of those kinds of things. So please take an opportunity to book your delegation from your congregation at that time. Let's look at registration. Hopefully you've already registered and everyone is ready to go. You can see that these are the various levels of cost on registration, so that the earlier you register, the least expensive it is to register. You just go right here, click, and walk through the process. If you have guests who will be coming who need meal tickets, certainly voting members don't need them. They're a part of the registration, but you can purchase them here and then pick them up when you arrive at the Assembly. But these are the items you'll need when you register, so that you know that you need to have these here in hand as you get to that point. And you can register not just yourself, but the entire voting delegation from the congregation. So please have those things ready, and that way it gives you an opportunity to get registered and be ready for when the Assembly arrives. Let's go back again to the main page, and the last section I want to take you to is the pre-Assembly orientation. Please note that there are pre-Assembly conference meetings. These are the various conferences, the dates and the places. You should be getting a notice from your conference president or your conference dean about a time and anything else of business that will be conducted at your conference meeting. But please note that those are coming up. And I want to walk you through some of the various Assembly resources that we have available. Some of these aren't available yet, but as they are, then they will light up so that you will know. The Cross Trails Ministry Corporation meeting materials will be ready soon, and we will provide a link directly to the Cross Trails Ministry site so you can look at all of those to prepare for that part of the meeting. There will be a travel equalization form for those congregations who travel a longer distance to be with us at the assembly. And these two items are important ones that you'll want to have. When the Bulletin of Reports is getting more completed, that will be right here. A one-click will give you all the Bulletin of Reports, and you can print the whole thing out or download the whole thing right from this site. Or you can go here to the action items. And the action items will be all of those things that you'll want to print on which the Synod Assembly has to vote. For example, let me show you. This is the index of what will be in the Bulletin of Reports as we're putting it together now. All those items that are marked with an asterisk are things that would be good for you to have printed so that you can follow along. The agenda, the standing rules, constitutional amendments, the budget, resolutions, and just to let you know, we've not received any resolutions as of the date of this recording, which is March the 13th. And then these are all the nominations and all the bios that are related to all of that. As you can see, the Bulletin of Reports also contains the reports of the bishop and conference reports and many, many more. But all of these that are asterisks are set aside as a part of the action items. And as action items, they will be all together in a very easy form right here so that you can click that and print them all in one setting and not have to go looking for them. Again, the week of the assembly, either on Wednesday or Thursday, is a good time for you to go and print these or to download the Bulletin of Reports. That will give you the latest edition of all of those things, and as there are any changes or things you need, then they'll be provided for you as a voting member when you get to the assembly. You'll also see as we develop a more developed agenda, that will be listed here. So you saw a very brief one earlier. The video message is what you're listening to now, so as you have other persons who want to share it, here's where you'll find it. And finally, let me take you to the explanation of assembly activities and procedures. If you're a new member to the assembly, this will be a helpful page for you as it talks about parliamentary procedure and how we use Robert's Rules of Order to help us do the business of the assembly. This talks about the Bulletin of Reports, all the action items and everything else. Please note that you can pick up at the assembly a printed copy of all of the materials. It will cost you $10 if you'd like to do it that way, but we really encourage you to print those items yourself or to download them electronically. There is a whole list of other items here related to motions and amendments and resolutions and those things, but you can take an opportunity to read this at your leisure. If you'd like to speak at the assembly from the floor, there are 4 mics, one that has a green card on it, one a red card, and one a white card. If you'd like to speak for something, you go to a green mic, against something, a red mic, or if you have a comment or question, a white mic. Usually, the presiding bishop will call on speakers from the floor, and when you speak, please state your name, the congregation of your membership, and say something to begin like, I'd like to speak in favor or against this motion, and then you speak to the assembly. Please notice that there is no applause or anything else following speeches, and that the debate provides for everyone to speak for 3 minutes to an issue until the question is called and we proceed to a vote. Where will you be seated at assembly? Well, there's 4 areas: a visitor section, a voting members section, an observers section, and an area for those who assist the presiding officer of the assembly. And those will be clearly marked when you get there so that you know. We ask that you sit in the appropriate section. It helps provide better order at the assembly itself. And finally, here's a section on memorials and resolutions. Memorials are specific motions that address an issue for the church-wide assembly, and a resolution is a motion that the assembly pledges itself to accomplish. So each motion must have a specific topic and 2 presenters and background information, and again, you saw that where you can submit one of those resolutions as we walked through that earlier on the website. So this is everything as a part of the webinar. I hope you found this helpful. We wanted to do it this way this year so that you would have an opportunity to share this with other people in your congregation and other voting members. And again, we ask that you pray for this assembly as the planning continues, that you look forward to being with us at the assembly, and as always, we ask that you would ask the Holy Spirit would guide us in all the decisions that we make together for the sake of this synod and for Christ Church. Thank you for listening, and God's blessings to you today.